Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Kelly Stewart, joined by Bryan Leonard at Leonard Sports on Twitter and Tony Finn at WagerTalk. All right, guys, we all know that baseball is so tough for me, right? So I'm trying to find these little underdogs. I'm trying to find any little trend, something to help me get through the summer before football season starts. So now we're going to talk about MLB betting at the trade deadline. This is something that's very important for your MLB models. Bryan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, first off, there used to be two trade deadlines, basically. They had the one, and then they had the other one where you had to pass through waivers, the whole bit. They've cut it back to the one, which is going to be on the 31st of this month. So it's the end of this month. And it's really interesting to get a vibe of the teams after the trade deadline. First off, the teams that make the trades to help each other out. If you're a team that is a buyer at the trade deadline, that's a team the fans are excited, the other players are excited. But if you're a team, and there's a few of them out there, my Cleveland Indians for one, where, yeah, they can make the playoffs, but they're also talking about trading one of their best pitchers. And if the Indians do trade Bauer and they get like minor leaguers back that's going to help in the future, what is that going to cause an effect for the rest of the players on the team? And we've seen that other teams, because some of these teams, they're playing really well, and all of a sudden the management is showing them.
Well, we saw it with Verlander, right? When Verlander went to the Astros, all of a sudden
took off.
Yes.
But the other side is the management's telling the players, we don't think you're good enough, and you see those teams just go on a terrible run.
All right, Tony, your thoughts from a handicapping perspective after the trade deadline?
It's very similar to what Bryan just outlined, except for I like the fact there's only one. There's basically a dead drop July 31st. A line now. You don't have to worry about extending that concern that you have with backing a team that's a seller.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden you back him one morning and 2/3 of the bullpen or the primary pieces of the bullpen are gone. Or maybe the starter gets yanked. In this day and age when you have to list pitchers, the starter doesn't come into play as much. But there are key players. There are key players, bats in the middle of the lineup. What's their replacement value? What's the war on who's going to be sitting in or standing in the batter's box for them? And for the most part, I make it really simple, and that is I stay away from, at least for that week, from 3 days before the 31st, 3 days after.
So today we're filming on the 24th.
Yeah.
We have about a week before the deadline. So what do we do for the next week, and then what do we do after that?
I avoid those teams that are sellers for the most part. And
because we have a general idea who's selling.
Yes, we do. We have a general idea. There are a few teams, San Francisco, what are they going to do? They win last night, though, and extend.
Came out of nowhere. They were a month ago, they were selling everybody.
That's right.
But now they might be buying.
That's correct.
It's interesting because I like to look at players, especially if they're veteran players, that play for a bad team. Castellanos was third base, well, he's now an outfielder for Detroit. He's been on a bad team his entire career. Now they're talking about moving him, so he gets excited. But what's even better is when you've got these pitchers that were pitching for a bad team. Now they're in a playoff race. We saw this last year. Virtually every guy that got traded, got into a starting rotation, I don't know how many times they lost. It was just automatic winners because they got a new lease on life. Yeah. And the new guys are excited to have him on the team, and he wants to provide some winners for that team. It's just something that keep an eye out for those guys when they get on a good team.
All right, any of teams from either one of you right now that we need to look at as sellers, maybe going into this deadline, maybe look at it buyers, or are we still treading lightly?
It changes every day.
Okay.
I still going to call San Francisco a seller. I think, despite the fact that they
should be a seller. I don't know if they will be.
Are they selling Bumgarner? Have we heard yet?
Well, he's one of them.
Okay.
And two of the guys in the bullpen.
Right. They need to look at I think they're Boshi's last year, I think they're looking big picture, and the fact that even if they were to sneak in or crawl in or creep in to the playoffs, that the scenario is not very good. They're basically 150 games out of first place right now.
And the thing is, when you get to a wild card, you're playing one game.
Right.
So is your future worth
a
50-50 chance to get a chance to play in the playoffs? So.
Yeah. All right, noted. Thank you guys for all of that. Don't forget, any 5% best bet is backed by our 150% WagerBuck guarantee at WagerTalk.com, where you get 150% back in the purchase price and credit to use.